Welcome to Nerdarchy, 4 hours by where your mind is the mightiest weapon. I'm Nerdarchists Dave, and with me is this telepathic titan of tabletop,
Nerdarchists Ted. Greetings, adventurers and thought tamers. Tonight, we're peering into the future of D&D with a brand new Scion class from Unearthed Arcana 2025.
Let's start talking about some 2025 Unearthed Arcana spells and feat, or also known as Wild Town. All right, we're going to start with the spells. Some of these are updated spells to the 2024 rule, and some of them are.
So one of the things that they added in here is obviously anytime they put Unearthed Arcana out there and they put spells, they let you know who gets them so that it's not just, oh, this is just for the Scion. So like the cool parts is you'll get to see like, all right, the first one, Intellect Fortress, is Artificer, Bard, Scion, Sorcerer, Warlock, or Wizard. So lots of different options here. It's not just the Scion spell. It's level 3 for the duration. One willing creature you can see within range has resistance to psychic damage, as well as advantage on intelligence, wisdom, and charisma saving throws. You can target one additional creature for each spell slot above 3. Resistance to damage, the psychic damage, as well as advantage on mental saving throws. That's really good. I wonder whether it's the equivalent of a fireball. It's somewhere in that 2 to 4 range. So I think like sure that fits into 3. I just wonder how many people are going to be choosing to be using a 3rd level spell slot for that unless you're going up against a serious like heavy psychic damage caster.
Well, I was thinking like you parties like going to invade an elephant lair. This might be useful, and you might even want to upcast it. The resistance is good, but the advantage on intelligence, wisdom, and charisma saving throws, it's going to be great for the people that are already good at those, but the people that aren't good at those, they're still kind of screwed. Yeah. It doesn't matter if you need to roll a 19 on the die or not, because you're still just rolling 2 dice and probably fail. But I will say, when you stack this with the telepath, it gets a little better. There's a bit of a light at the end of the tunnel. This spell, they'll get more bang for their buck out of it. Also, we have Psychic Scream. This is a 9th level enchantment spell. Bard, Scion, Sorcerer, Warlock. An action 90 feet. Somatic components instantaneous. You unleash the power of your mind to blast intellect of up to 10 creatures of your choice that you can see within range. Creatures that have an intelligence score 2 or lower are unaffected. I might be safe. Each target must make an intelligence saving throw. On a failed save, the target takes 14 die 6 psychic damage, and the stun condition. On a successful save, the target takes half damage. Only the target is reduced. If the target is reduced to 0 hit points by this damage, its head explodes, assuming it has ones. At the end of each of its turns, the stun target repeats the save, ending the condition on itself on successful. This one is absolutely brutal to use on your players, because if this is the spell that brings them down, they're just...
Yeah, so reading through this one, my first thought was, okay, 14 die 6 for a 9th level spell. That seems very, very low in the damage threshold. And I'm like, oh, so they're stunned around, whatever. That's not equivalent, especially when you look at the vast array of the amount of damage that Meteor Swarm can do. You can get a lot more targets and do a lot more damage. 40 die 6 versus 14 die 6. And then I kept reading before I voiced my opinion out loud. And it's like, oh, it remains stunned until it passes the save.
Yeah.
Well, if it's an intelligence saving throw, there's not a whole lot of classes that are proficient in intelligence. Not a whole lot of high intelligence things, out there monster-wise. I mean, sure, there's some, but like that's not the prevalent thing. All right, you're probably not killing things with the 14 die 6, but the stunned? Yeah, that's going to crush.
Yeah, that's going to hurt a little bit. And also, too, like, even if they have a high intelligence, still, you're casting 9th level spells, so your DC to save is still pretty high. They're still going to need to make a decent roll on the D, more than likely.
Right. If you assume that they don't have a focus, which for a 17th level caster, that's kind of ridiculous. You've probably maxed out your intelligence. So you're looking at 8 plus 6 plus 5. So you're at a 19 pre-magic focus. So, all right, even if you've got a decent bonus, I got a plus 6 to my saving throw. It's still a 13 or better in order to not be stunned. You might get a few rounds out of this, and meanwhile, your opponents or your allies are just whomping ass on this.
Stun dude. Up to 10.
Yeah, because it's up to 10 targets.
Yeah. What do we got next?
So, Rowlathim's Psychic Lance. You unleash a shimmering lance of psychic power from your forehead at a creature you can see within range. Alternatively, you can utter a creature's name. A pseudonym, title, or nickname doesn't work. If the named target is within range, it becomes the spell's target, even if you can't see it. If the named target isn't within range, or you use an invalid name, the lance dissipates without effect. The target must make an intelligence saving throw. On a failed save, it takes 7d6 damage and has the incapacitated condition until the start of your next turn. On a successful save, the target takes half as much damage only. It's a level 4 enchantment for Bard, Scion, Sorcerer, Warlock, or Wizard, and the range is 120 feet.
Yeah, I feel like they ratchet the kind of the damage down for the psychic because very, very rarely are things resistant or immune to psychic damage.
Yep.
And with these being intelligence saving throws to boot, I think that all goes into the calculation. But also the incapacitated condition is pretty brutal. And after something new, summon astral entity, 3rd level conjuration, Scion, Sorcerer, Wizard. Action 90 feet, verbal somatic material, gem or crystal worth 300 plus fee. Even if you're a Scion, you need its concentration up to an hour. Call forth the spirit of a psionic entity. It manifests in an occupied space that you can see within range and uses psionic spirit's stat block. When you cast the spell, choose the crystal entity, ectoplasmic entity, or ghostly entity. The creature resembles an astral entity of that kind, which determines certain details in its stat block. The creature disappears when it drops to 0 hit points or whenever the spell ends. The creature is an ally to you and your allies. In combat, the creature shares your initiative count, but it takes a start immediately after yours. Obeys your verbal commands. No action required by you. If you don't issue any, takes the dodge action and uses its movement to avoid danger. Using the spell at higher levels affects the spell's stat block. So this is kind of a callback to summoning the astral construct from 3rd edition, which was a Scion thing to do. But now you have some different options for it as well.
Yeah, and all of it's kind of broken up in there with some cool things that either increase its armor class, give it a fly speed, different attack options for each of them. So when you cast it, you've got your decisions to make. So one spell has a little bit more versatility depending upon how you actually summon the thing. It's still your summoned creature. It still has that acting after you, which again, it's your turn. I would say like it's encompassed within your realm. Break it up however you see as you need fit. That's my house rule, the way I tend to play things. It's a lot of fun. It's concentration, so you're only going to have one. That's how it goes. But summoned allies are always fun.
Yeah. You guys can just go download the D&D Beyond PDF and for free and check out the stat block. You get to summon a friend, and it's, as far as stat blocks goes, it's okay. It's not bad, and you get some versatility and some
Mind Whip, level 2 enchantment, Scion, Sorcerer, Wizard. You psychically lash out at one target you can see within range of 90 feet. The target makes an intelligence save. On a failed save, the target takes 3d6 damage, and it can't make opportunity attacks until its next turn. Moreover, on its next turn, it can either take the action or the bonus action, not both. On a successful save, target only takes half the damage, and you can upcast it to target one additional creature for each spell slot above 2nd.
Not bad. I mean, it's a reprint that's been slightly updated for the 2024 rules. We also get Telekinetic Crush. This one actually might be a new one.
This is absolutely one.
Level 3 Transmutation, Scion, Sorcerer, Warlock, casting time action, range 120. Just the verbal, which for you, if you're a Scion, think it. Duration instantaneous. Create a field of crushing telekinetic force in a 30-foot cube within range. Each creature in the area makes a strength saving throw on a failed save, or the target takes 5d6 force damage. Has the prone condition. On a successful save, the target takes half as much damage, and you can upcast it, increasing by a die 6 for every spell slot above.
Yeah, I like this one. Again, new spells are always a great thing for me. Sure, you can say it's a cube, but you could also like reflavor this one to, whether you want to come out with hammers or giant fists that are trying to literally squish or crush your opponents. I'm a big fan of taking the raw mechanic and reflavoring it to best fit how your character would have spells go off. And this is definitely one that I definitely was like, all right, let's literally crush our opponents.
Yeah, I mean, it's nice. I mean, you don't get the same size as you do with a fireball, and the damage is slightly less, but it's force damage, so there's not going to be a lot of resistance to it. They do fail their save. They have the prone condition. You hit them at 120 feet away. You knock them prone. They need half their movement to get up. You can really control the battlefield with a spell.
You can hammer them down. All right, so the last spell in this document is Telekinetic Fling. This is an evocation cantrip for Scion only. So this is our first thing that's like, all right, we're just talking about Scion here. You brandish the ammunition used to cast this spell and fire it at a creature within range using psionic energy. It takes an arrow, a bolt, a bullet, or a needle worth at least 1 copper. You make a ranged spell attack against the target on a hit. The target takes 1d10 force damage and the ammunition is destroyed. As with all cantrips, the damage increases by 1d10. So when you reach level 5, 11, and 17, it goes up to 2d10, 3d10, and 4d10 respectively. So it's on par with Firebolt, the top impact damage dealing, and its force as opposed to fire. This is definitely going to be a big one.
It's kind of an Eldritch Blast that only hits one target.
Yeah.
Although it is a little weird, right? Your components are verbal and material. And because there's a component that's consumed, so it has the material component because you're launching the thing, right?
Yes.
But only Scions can use it, but Scions don't use the V.
Yes.
So I guess if you get this from some other way,
you still have to do the verbal. That's why it's there. Yeah. You just be like, all right, I got the bolt in my hand and phew, it fires. I like this. It's going to be fun. I think it'll be far easier to just grab a sack full of bullets rather than arrows, bolts, or needles. But the way loot tends to drop, you probably gonna, if you've got a psionicist that's going to be using this, they're probably just going to be like, all right, well, when we kill stuff, I'm just going to take whatever ammunition it's got and add it to my growing pile of stuff that diminishes every time I cast a cantrip.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Because it doesn't need to be magic, because it's not the physical thing that's causing the damage. It's doing force damage. It's your mind propelling the thing.
Even better, you take all the magical ammunition, but it does absolutely nothing.
All right, so we're moving on to feats that are listed as wild talent feats. And I read through this several times, and I'm like, all right, nowhere does it describe what does it mean to be a wild talent feat. Does this fall under, like, psionicist only? Does this fall under, like, is this an origination feat that you could take at first level? Like, nothing. There's no information. It just said feats.
No, it does. You can take a wild talent feat as a noble or sage background as an origin feat.
All right, where did I miss that?
It's in the document. I think it's in the beginning of the document in one of the grayed out boxes. But otherwise, you can take it as your normal when you would be able to take a feat.
Okay. There's 10 feats, 10 wild talent feats. And the big thing about these are you can only have one wild talent. You can't have another unless your GM says so. Let's dive in. So at Telekinesis, you gain the following benefits. Lightning Jolt. Once per turn when you cast a spell or hit with an attack and roll bludgeoning, piercing, slashing, or psychic damage, you can change the type to lightning damage. A psionic talent with a shocking grasp cantrip and always have the fog cloud spell prepared. You can cast it once without a spell slot and get it back after a long rest. You can also cast it this way using any spell slots of an appropriate level. When you cast these spells, they require no verbal material components, and intelligence, wisdom, or charisma is your spellcasting ability for them, chosen when you choose this feat. When your character reaches level 3, you can also have the Gust of Wind spell paired in the same way.
So, I mean, it's nice you're getting things added to your spell list. You get access to a cantrip. You get an interesting ability that allows you to change damage types once per turn. Next up, we have biokinesis. So there's going to be a couple traits that are kind of the same for all of these, right? Like you can only get one wild talent feat, so we won't keep going over that. So bend life energy. When a spell you cast restores hit points to a creature you gain. When a spell you cast restores hit points to a creature, you can roll a d4 and add the number rolled to the total hit points restored. Use this benefit a number of times equal to your proficiency bonus. And you can regain all expended uses when you finish a long rest. Sonic talent, the Spare of the Dying cantrip. You also always have the healing word spell prepared, and you can cast it once per long rest. Again, you don't need to use the components for it, and you get to choose which stat is going to be your casting stat. Those two things are going to be the same for everything as well. When you reach a character level 3, you also have the Arcane Vigor spell prepared and cast it the same way. This feels like it would go really nicely with the Metamorph.
Especially bending life energy, that's going to definitely sync up well with being able to get extra hit point or extra healing out of it. I think some of these definitely line up very well with specific things,
and they're trying to give you that feel, right?
Yeah, or even outside the realm of these subclasses, fits very well with other type of characters as well, if you want to link this into a non-psionic character. So next one up is Clairsentience. minor foreknowledge. When you take the search action, you can give yourself advantage on any ability check made as part of the same action. You can use this benefit a number of times equal to your proficiency bonus, and you gain all expended uses when you finish a long rest. The spellcasting thing with this one is you're going to get guidance as your cantrip. You're going to get detect evil and good. And at 3rd level, you're going to be able to get see invisibility. You're going to be able to cast both of these once for free. They're automatically added to your prepared, and you can cast them again with any spell slots you already have.
And what's nice about the ability part of the feature is its advantage, right? Which, so if you were to take the psionic discipline, I
believe so.
You roll the die and add that to the number. So now you're getting advantage and the die bump.
Yeah, so psionic discipline options for the search, you'd be looking for expanded awareness. When you take the search action, you can expend 1 psionic energy die, roll it, and add that number rolled to the ability check. So you get the die and advantage on the check. So you could definitely be really aware about what's going on.
Next up, cryokinesis, ice manipulation. Once per turn, when you cast a spell or hit with an attack that deals bludgeoning, piercing, slashing, or psychic damage, you can change the damage type code. So it is very much like that first one. The Ray of Frost cantrip. You always have the Armor of Agatha and Ice Knife spells prepared. Those are 2 really nice gets.
Those are great spells. I felt this one was definitely a deviation from the, I got to wait till no, you get them both right away. But they're really nice spells. So definitely pretty cool there. Next is Empath. You get Emotional Sense. When you take the influence action, you can give yourself advantage on any ability check as part of that action. You can use the benefit a number of times equal to your proficiency bonus per long rest. And this is another one that's going to pair nicely with the other discipline. For your psionic talent, you always have Charm Person prepared. And then when you reach 3rd level, you're going to get Calm Emotions. This one doesn't give you the cantrip, but you are going to cast both of these for free. I think these are a little bit more useful and advantageous. So I guess they felt, well, we don't need to give you a cantrip. We're just going to give you these 2.
Next up is flesh morphing on, folks. Flexible flesh. When you make a dexterity, acrobatics, or sleight of hand check, gain a bonus equal to your intelligence modifier. Minimum +1. You can use this benefit a number of times equal to your proficiency bonus. It works the same as the other ones, essentially. Psionic talent. You always have the Long Strider spell prepared, and at 3rd level, you get Altered Self. This one will not stack quite as nicely with the metamorph as the name implies.
It's enough to dabble. I think given the right character, these definitely would be good choices, but I was definitely not feeling this one as the tops for different choices to be made. Next one up is Mind Whisper, limited telepathy. As a limited telepathy. As a magic action, choose 1 creature you can see within 120 feet. You form a telepathic connection to that creature. For 1 hour, you and the chosen creature can communicate telepathically with each other while within 120 feet. To understand each other, you have to use a language that you both know. Once you use the benefit, you can't do so again until you finish a short or long rest. And then for your spells, you're going to get Mind Slivers, your cantrip, Dissonant Whispers as your spell prepared, and you don't get another one at a higher level.
This one seems a little lackluster compared to the others, although Mind Sliver is a great cantrip and Dissonant Whispers is a great spell.
I'd have to look at the wording to see how the limited telepathy is going to pair with the telepath features, or whether you have to be connected with that specific power, or if you just need to be connected with them with telepathy. Because if it's just telepathy, the 120 feet from the Mind Whisperer, that solves a lot of your problems right there.
For 1 person, anyway. All right.
Sure, for 1 person.
Side Trickster. Cunning Mind. You make a Charisma, Deception, or Persuasion check. You gain a bonus equal to your intelligence. Again, the number of uses is the same as all of them. Psionic talent. Get the Minor Illusion cantrip. You get the Disguise Self spell, and you don't get any other spells at 3rd level. Your mileage will definitely vary with these different.
Psychokineticist. When you take the dash action, you can increase your speed by 10 feet until the start of your next turn. You can do this a number of times equal to your proficiency bonus per day. And then you're going to get Telekinetic Fling as your cantrip. And then you also get Thunder Wave as your spell. So again, no higher level, but Telekinetic Fling and Thunder Wave, two pretty nice gets.
And you're better at dashing when you want to be, when you use that side boost. We also get access to our final one, which is the Pyrokinesis, Fire Starter. Great movie. Once per turn, when you cast a spell or hit with an attack roll, like bludgeoning, piercing, slashing, psychic damage, you can change that damage type to fire damage. You got a couple ways where you can change several different things to different energy types. So if you're going for a particular flavor with your spell casting or even your attacks, really, any of these are great for slapping that on there. Psionic talent. So you're going to get Produce Flame as a cantrip and Burning Hands. And when you reach 3rd level, add Scorching Ray to it.
Yeah, those are all great options to be able to flit and play with. I think most of these feats, many casters or characters would love to be able to grab and get. So thanks for letting us into your minds tonight, figuratively, of course. Exploring spells and feats with all of you has been an absolute blast.
Be sure to like, subscribe, and psychic link to that bell so you don't miss a single video. Until next time.
And until next time,
stay nerdy.
Stay nerdy.